I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and I am speaking with the legendary Miss Wendy Williams, the executive producer of the Lifetime documentary Wendy Williams, What a Mess. The first question I wanted to ask is, I noticed that your son's face was always blurred out in the pictures of him that we saw in the pictures that were used in the documentary, and I was just curious as to why that was.
He's 20. By the way, he just left here like a half hour ago, left New York. He's been here for the last 2 weeks, and we had a wonderful time. But, Kev is 20 years old, and I just, I talked to him about it. He says, Mom, I'll be involved if you want me to be involved, but it adds extra stuff into my life if I'm involved. And so I said, no, then don't be involved. I want you to, walk the campus and go out with people and have a good time. And, I know that there's some recent pictures of him online, but
I completely understand. And I have a feeling my mom would be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than, we saw a lot with your family and, how they provided such support for you when over the last several years when like everything just seemed to be turning upside down. But who were the people other than your family that you relied on for support when all of this was going down?
The show. I rely on everyone here. It's weird because it's the show and I know I'm the host, but I really do think of this as my other family. Just like I think of this, we're in my office right now. I think of this as my second apartment. It's got a nice shower and a good bathroom, a little marble on the floor, a pull-out couch. But this is my second family. And all I could tell them while I was going through what I was going through is be patient with me. I'll make it worth your while. Just go along to get along, be patient, and I'll make it worth your while. And it all worked out. And people are still here and we laugh and we eat and we do cartwheels and we have inside jokes and, it's a family. I relied on them. As far as regular friends, like the ones I call on the telephone, not so much. That was very difficult because those people weren't with me. When it was me, my son, and my ex-husband, that was the three of us. When we came to work, that's me and the entire staff. When I leave work and I'm not, around Kevin and Kevin, what do I talk to girlfriends about? I don't care if I've known you since kindergarten. We don't have anything in common at this particular point. My instinct was correct, by the way, according to what they all say is, why didn't you leave a long time ago? Or why didn't you call me? I could have come to, help you. That's not the kind of help or telephone calling that I needed. I spent time locked away. I spent time looking crazy to my staff at my own show. I spent time dealing with a bossy husband who I'm sure people thought that I was, in the worst place in my life, which really I wasn't. I was plotting and planning. And so, my rescue was, other than my family, and it truly was my family. Until he turned them against me for a brief moment. Well, whatever. Then my resource became here at the show. I used to love to come here like, what's for lunch today? What are we doing? Hey, you guys, you don't have to walk the other way. Hey, he's not here. Hey, if you just stay around for a moment longer, I'll make it better than worth your while.
So I completely understand. But so how did the idea for this documentary come about? And I'm curious, did it feel weird to you to be an executive producer of a movie about yourself?
No, it felt very natural because I wanted the story to be told once and be told right. Like I would never, they say never, but as of right now, I am saying I would never do another story or documentary about me and my life. This is the other side of it. I'm a grown woman now. I'm fully divorced. My family is back in love with me. Uh, my staff and coworkers and people around here, we love each other. It's a very well-oiled machine, and it was very, very much something that had to be planned out and not like a knee-jerk reaction that some women do where they grab their children and they run. I wasn't being physically abused, so therefore there was no grab and run. I wanted Kevin to graduate from high school in Livingston, New Jersey, where he was raised. And I didn't want anything weird to happen where, I divorced his father and moved to Manhattan, and now he's got to go to the Spence School, or, we moved to, West Orange and he goes to West Orange High School. No, it wasn't fair to him. And I thought that I'll sacrifice for him now to make him feel bad about it and sacrifice for me later. That's a good one though, right?
That's a great one.
No, because the whole 2 weeks that he's been here, all he's been doing is emptying the garbage cans and asking me what I'd like to eat. And,
has he been changing the kitty litter?
He's very vegan, pescatarian. He's that whole thing. And I eat a little of everything. I don't mind a little piece of tofu in some miso soup, but I do love a corn dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I got my whole family back. My mother has passed away, but she's back. She's talking to me right now as I talk to you. I got my whole family back, and I got my show exactly where it needs to be. And it's not just here in this building. It's Debmar Mercury. It's all my affiliates believing in the show. Like, yeah, I took off time because I was trapped. Or, yeah, I took off time because this or that.
So one of my favorite things that happened over last year was the budding wonderful friendship that grew between you and John Oliver, and everything with his show. And I'm just curious, what was it like to be a part of that? And also, how was that onesie doing?
The onesie is wonderful. John is lovely. And you know what? I honestly, I love doing the show. And John is one of the great guests. And what I love about the show is that, a first guest is just a first guest. You're feeling each other out. And that could go wonderfully. But by the time they come for a second time, they know exactly where they are. And they dance with us, and they're honest with us. And, John is one of those kind of guys.
One of the other things that I love about this documentary specifically is it made me remember how much I love the stories about the culture of radio, specifically like New York radio. All the stories I've read about the infamous DJs that came out of New York. And I was curious, do you feel like our culture has lost something with radio culture not being what it once was?
Yes. I feel like radio, terrestrial radio, is a dying art. And even the Sirius XMs and things like that, there are only a few people who are really successful at doing that. I listen to terrestrial radio because I'm a fan, because I come from that dying art and I'm old, but I'm glad I'm not in radio anymore. There's not enough respect for it, unfortunately. Podcasts give more information. Celebrities' Instagrams give more information than they would give on a radio interview. It's odd. It's weird. I never thought I'd see this day. Radio, my first love. Yeah.
I mean, I know that your main place was New York, but was there any other place where you were located other than New York when you were doing radio that it may not have been your favorite, but that you really enjoyed being in? Or was it always New York?
Philly. You know what? I actually enjoyed okay, no, I didn't enjoy being in St. Croix because it was too far from home. The people were beautiful, the atmosphere was beautiful, but there were too many hurricanes. And I was only there for a few months, but they were some of the scariest months. And I was just 2 weeks out of college when I started that radio job. And I was frightened, and nobody in my family understood my dream of wanting to be on radio. And none of my friends from college understood my dream of, now I was successful at college radio. You all heard me. I interned at the biggest station in Boston, Kiss 108 with Matt Siegel in the morning. But nobody really understood it. And that's where I kind of started to cut the lines on people's opinions regarding what I'm trying to do for a living, which unfortunately, when you're young, that's all you talk about. You talk about boys and you talk about your career. Well, I was celibate there. I was totally focused in St. Croix. And then I left and I worked in DC at WOL. I hadn't been to DC much, so it was a different kind of experience. I was there for a moment, but I loved Philly second to New York, because that's where, it's such a family place. Philly is at the tail end of Jersey. New York is at this end of Jersey, but Philly is at that end of Jersey. And it really is a totally different culture. People grow corn and tomatoes, and they have their kids, and life just seems so family oriented. And that's what I think the three of us needed when I first had Kevin, and also to give birth to Kevin, but after that was done, I'm like, I need to get back in the action.
Well, Wendy, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at our panel in just a little bit.
Is there food there?
God, I hope so.
Thank you, Charles.